Hey, welcome into Gun Talk Nation. Today on Gun Talk Nation, we've got Doug Prichard, long-range instructor here at FTW Ranch. Today's Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Springfield Armory, makers of concealed carry pistols that you know and love, like the Hellcat, also their new Waypoint rifle, as well as DoubleStar, brought to you by DoubleStar. If you don't know DoubleStar, they make ARs, they make pistols, they make a lot of parts and accessories. They also make knives, so check them out.
And I just got a brace from them, so
And they make a brace.
It's all good.
Yeah. So, Doug, we're out here at FTW Ranch, really cool place. One of the things, you're one of the instructors here.
Yes, sir.
Teaching people how to be more accurate and shoot longer ranges. I mean, I don't even know where to start. You teach hundreds and thousands of people. I mean, you must see all kinds of stuff.
Let's get a little background on the man first.
Yeah.
I mean,
how did you
get here? Like, let's start at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, you know, I was former military, spent about 26 years and worked in special operations, Navy side, and fortunate to train and work with some of the really top shooters in that side of the house. And then, you know, as I approached the end of that time frame, when you're can't jump over fences like you used to. You're like, okay, I need to figure out what I'm going to do in the real world, and this is what I wanted to do. Get out and teach, you know, and hunting. You know, hunting was a part of my life, and I said, I just what I want to do. I want to teach. I want to hunt, and spend the rest of my life doing it. So fortunately for me, I met Mr. Fallon, me and another buddy, another team guy I was working with named Chip Beeman, and we met Tim Fallon and the Fallon family, and this is just a beautiful ranch. I mean, it's 12,000 acres, and it has everything you would need to challenge a shooter.
Yeah.
You know, you know, a lot of times the term long range comes up, but a lot of stuff we do is very short range. We're basically preparing hunters to whatever they're going for around the world, and not just hunters, but we have you know, tactical shooters and snipers and stuff like that. Because we have such a variety of ranges, it can challenge any level of shooter.
When we were shooting on a range the other day, that there wasn't a target over 250, but the shooting positions were difficult.
That's
I
right.
mean, so it makes you think.
Yeah, that's a good point. You can challenge people. It's not just the distance, but you go, okay, you need to use this log, and you need to hit that target at 250 yards. And then you go, how do I do this on this log?
Okay, I'm going to just set the front of the gun on, and we'll hope for the best.
Like, nope, that's not the answer.
That's not the answer. Like, so if you're thinking that, that's not it.
Yeah, there's several aspects to that, and you know, when you think of wobble, as they call wobble, you have a vertical and a horizontal component to wobble. So most people think I'm going to throw my gun on top of something. What they don't think is how I'm going to pin down the horizontal. So that will take out the vertical wobble. And you throw your gun on something that goes from this to this, and then next thing you know, how do you take that out? Well, normally a righty will try to pin down the right side, a lefty the left side, and that way you're equalizing those wobbles, and what you're trying to achieve is acceptable reticle movement. You know,
talk about that arc, acceptable, or no, arm. Arm.
Acceptable
Spelling's more difficult than it seems.
Acceptable reticle movement, arm. Well, I mean, explain that concept.
Yeah, you know, it's well, the older you get, hopefully the smarter you get. Not always the case, but understanding acceptable reticle movement. What does it look like? And I'll just use an example. I was back in the backside here one time, and I had a sheep I had to call out, and I was like, I'm down a hill. It was a kneeling position, free hand, and I had wobble left or right, and I was like, man, I got way too much wobble. So I think I'm gonna, when it's coming across, I'm gonna break that trigger, right? And as soon as I did that, when I broke that trigger, I saw it literally missed off its right side, and it ran away, and I didn't get the shot in. So I thought, well, what am I doing? What did I do wrong? Well, why did I miss this shot? Why, you know, how come I couldn't figure this out? And I literally came back to this range right over here, and I spent a good part of the day going through shooting positions and trying to stabilize the crosshairs. And literally what I found out is the principles of marksmanship. Your number one is your body position. Your body position, if you're in a good body position, you'll have less wobble inside the reticle. As soon as you get off the ground, you know, that wobble is going to increase. So a kind of rule of thumb I found right here was, okay, I got to get acceptable. What does acceptable look like? If I have a 9-inch, say a 9-inch kill zone, I use these 9-inch plates. If my target is this big, I need to get the wobble down to about a quarter of that. I can engage that target, and if I follow the principles, if I have a slight bit of wobble, I can still pull this shot off. If I'm wobbling from corner to corner, just like that sheep, I had that crosshair going from shoulder to shoulder, and I said, man, that's way too much. I know it is.
Take it off.
Yeah, you need, what do? You go back to number one, body position.
So what we're really talking about, and when you're talking about wobble, the reticle moving on the target, right?
100%.
And I love the concept because you go, look, and acceptable is really the important word you're saying is like, what is acceptable? If your target, your kill zone on a deer or on a steel target or whatever is 9 inches, edge to edge is not acceptable.
Not acceptable at all.
So what do you have to do if you're wobbling too much? What do you guys instruct?
In hunting, it'd be like, okay, I got to change my position. I have to be in an acceptable position. I have to have it, or the chances of especially on an animal, the chances of wounding that animal severely is a bad thing. A good miss would be better than a bad wounding an animal is not acceptable. Right? So especially when you're on an animal and you're on a hunt, you need to you got to have that acceptable reticle movement, and then you follow the principle. You have to. Sometimes it's small things. It's just kind of restarting. Like, well, is my elbow pinned down? What can I do to build that position? A lot of times, folks are in a position, and I guess it's like anything. I'm not a professional golfer, but if I watch a guy swing a golf club and he's not a professional, I go, that guy, he's not.
I can tell.
Yeah,
he's not good.
He's not good. Well, when you watch enough shooters, you can see a good position. Yeah. And sometimes people are in a good position, right? And they're going, is that a good position? Yeah, it's a good position, right? Well, excel for an excellent position or a great position, not a good one. Because a great position, I think y'all worked with Dave a little bit, and he said, well, if a great position falls apart, it's now a crappy position, right? Yeah, good goes to crappy, and great goes to good. So does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now, another thing, because you see so many shooters come through here, and I know our audience, they love shooting, hunting, the gear, the guns, all that stuff, and everybody goes towards gear.
It's all about the gear.
Are you, and I kind of have a theory of like, it's, what do they say? It's the Indian, not the arrows, or something like that.
Absolutely.
Eddie Van Halen, probably that's not a good example. One of those guys could pick up a guitar and make it sound good.
That's right.
And they can play it. But I mean, what are you seeing trends in gear and kind of how it's changed over the years?
Yeah, oh my goodness. Yeah, we are.
I think you just opened a can of worms.
Yeah. How long do you want to talk?
Yeah.
Just where we're at, just the market now where we're at, and there's just really good competitiveness is great for us because we're the consumer. From a consumer side, you guys keep arguing what's best because you just keep making better and better stuff.
There's actually a lot of good gear.
There's so much good gear, and it's hard for somebody who's kind of starting out sometimes, and they're like, what the heck?
Where do I start?
They got so much information coming out of it. It is hard. It's hard to figure that out, but. There's just so much good gear out there. In our case, we have a lot of rental guns. So a lot of folks, they're like, they'll call and they'll go, hey, I want to come out. I want to train and I want to learn about this stuff. And what gun should I buy or what scope should I buy? And Tim will tell them all the time. He goes, look, don't buy anything. Come out here, rent a gun. You can rent a gun. We got y'all saw all those guns we had there.
Oh, yeah.
What we like is things that work.
Yes.
Yeah, we like things that work, and people will try different kind of guns, and they'll find that gun or scope that they're comfortable with, and
That's always I guess a little bit of a frustration for me because being what we do, we get that question all the time of what scope should I buy, what gun should I buy, whatever, and it's like most of it's pretty good or really good.
Yeah.
And that's a personal choice.
Yeah.
It's not like there is the answer.
Right.
Yeah, you think about it, having a hunting rifle, if you bought a production line hunting rifle 20 years ago, now if it shot a 2-inch group, you're like, here we go. I'm going to go whitetail hunting.
This is it.
200 yards, and it's good.
Cool.
Right? Yeah. But now it's like, if you're gunning shooting under an inch, that used to be the standard.
Oh, yeah.
For a sniper qualification to start sniper training was a 1-inch group. Well, you got to have half a minute gun do that.
Yeah.
Right.
With the
If
shooter,
you're not doing that, you're not in the game.
Right.
Yeah. I
Right.
mean, and that's where gear is going now, and
Yeah.
I think it is the competition. I think that's what it's all about. But you're right. It's not a one size fits all.
That's right.
Because what works for me, and we talked about this on the range, like just because a gun's shooting great for you might not mean it shoots great for me.
Right. It's different. So we were this morning, we were doing some sighted in and doing a little video stuff, and you were talking about trigger control. And I think we've talked about trigger control, and everybody kind of hears, don't yank the trigger. But you had very specific of what you want to happen and how you wanted to run. I mean, explain going slow.
Yeah, it's called precision.
Right.
Precision marksmanship. When you're sighting in, that's the moment in time you've got to get it solid. It's got to be down. I think you got to look at the sighting in the gun. Well, if what am I going to be doing? A lot of people are bench shooters, right? So they'll shoot off benches, but are they hunting sitting on a bench?
Right.
So we pretty much prone people out, and then we'll have people that physically can't do that. But I had a really
trigger,
good thought, and I lost it.
Well, you
so
were
good.
kind of telling me about
Yeah.
trigger control, and I mean, I know don't yank the trigger, but
Right.
you were more specific than that. It's
Yeah,
not just don't yank it. You do need to how slow you want to go.
Yeah, on the trigger. Yeah, on so from a precision side of it, it's slower than your mind can even conceive if you want accuracy, right? Unless you have a real light trigger and a heavy gun, you can get away with that stuff. But we're dealing with a lot of hunting rifles, and it's kind of talking about gear. They're tools. What tool are you looking for? Do you want a scope that goes so far?
Right.
What's your magnification range? What's your caliber? There's so many factors to that. But being able to bring that trigger to the idea behind a trigger is that you can't disturb sight alignment or sight picture.
Right.
Right. Whatever it takes to do that. Every gun's different. I've got I shoot a 300 Win Mag. I might find on a specific gun. What I'll do is I might load the bipod. You've heard that term. I might increase my grip. I might put more pressure on it. I'll shoot a grip.
Explain load the bipod, because
Sure.
I mean, I found it to be very helpful every time I've come out here, and you guys kind of remind me to do that. But what do you mean by load the bipod?
Yeah, loading the bipod. What you're doing with loading the bipod is you're putting body pressure into the gun, and the bipod's basically digging in. Now, there's different thought processes on that. All right, and that is, that might change the way the gun fires and all that. But in our world of the hunting side of it, right, and it could be match shooting or whatever. But they have different guns. You're not going to carry a PRS gun normally up a mountain chasing goats and sheep. So when you load the gun, the big thing for us is seeing a follow through. Or during the follow through process, seeing our own impact, right? Because if you're in a hunting world and you don't see your impact, what do you do next? You don't know what to do next. And anyone who's ever shot a match and maybe they lost it right when the gun broke, I guarantee it. And you don't hit that plate, you hit it. You know what to do next.
Sure.
But if you miss it, your brain's like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? Hold more wind, hold less wind, hold.
Right.
You're lost without it. So loading the bipod, again, because every gun's different. I might have a gun that's not a heavy kick and recoiling gun, and in that case, I don't have to put all the pressure on it. But if I get up in the heavier recoiling guns, I find I'm more accurate if I get harder and harder and harder.
Really leaning into that
leaning
gun.
into it, leaning into those bipods, feeling that pressure. And sometimes that's hard to duplicate that in the field. But you learn ways the more you're doing this in the field, you'll find ways to throw down your pack, and you can actually not put bipods on top of a pack, but you can throw your pack down and then plug your bipods into it and jam into it, and you can bind it up, simulating the way you sight in.
So what do you guys look for? And I mean, if guys like, well, I've got a bipod. Like, what makes a good bipod? What are some things? Because I know
features of a good
there's
bipod.
different lengths. I mean, there's 9 to 13s.
That's a really good point. I used to have smaller bipods. The concept behind a bipod, drop a bipod down. That's going to be your most stable platform on its lowest form, and as you extend it, it's going to get somewhat less stable as you extend them out. So you'll find bipods that might be a 6 to 9 inch spread or whatever it is, But as you get older and get thicker, you're not wafer thin like you were when you're 22 years old. So you're going to find that you're going to have a more higher platform. Right. We see a lot of people flat hand the gun. Underneath the gun, they're flat handed, and that's fine for range shooting and flat shooting. But if you train in mountainous terrain, or hilly terrain like this around here, is that I find that certainly as I get older, I prefer the gun to be up a little higher off the ground.
Okay.
It gives also, especially in the hunting world, if you engage a target or an animal in the case, and it runs uphill, and if you're flat palming, you can't chase it.
You need room to be able to move the rear of the gun.
You need to be able to traverse the gun and get a little bit of, have a little bit of flexibility and be up for that follow-up shot.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're palmed out, it runs up. Scope bite.
I've never had that happen. What are you talking about? Why are you looking at me?
Not since yesterday. No.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there's those that have and there's those that will, right?
Yes, that's it.
Normally we see scope bite in initial days of training and shooting all these different civilian guns and very high calibers. We normally will see a scope bite issue on an uphill shot.
Okay.
Right. So the shooter puts their gun in the pocket of their shoulder, but to aim at that target, they'll start to lower the gun out. And as soon as they do that,
the top of that.
if you look at them from the side, they don't have a full butt stock in their shoulder. They're down to about 1 inch of the top of their butt stock.
Yeah.
The scope is closer to their eye, and when they fire that 300 Win Mag, it slides under their shoulder blade and crowns them.
Kisses you.
Ouch.
Kisses you right in there.
You know it too when it happens. You're like,
oh yeah.
I hope I don't bleed too much.
When you hear
when the blood starts dripping down your nose, you go.
When you hear that skull cracking sound, you know you're in trouble.
I just got punched in the face.
And I did it.
Yeah, I've done it. I've done it a few times.
Yeah.
I tell you one, this is actually not my story, it's my dad's story, but he was in Africa, and we'll get into shooting sticks, lots of stories with shooting sticks, but real tall grass, on shooting sticks, he's standing up, and he's almost like on his tippy toes to shoot over this grass at this water buck. So he's got no weight behind the gun at all. First shot, wham! Blood starts dripping down. Now they're like, shoot him again, shoot him again.
No.
And you're going, let me run the gun and figure this out. But, I mean.
No, I don't want to shoot him again.
Ow. Yeah.
Please don't make me do it again.
Yeah, you guys, you teach people, we're talking about shooting positions, but shooting sticks. That's another piece of gear that is super helpful, whether it's precision shooting or hunting or whatever, but there's sort of a right way and a wrong way.
Well, and I think it's also a little bit underutilized in its full capacity.
They were showing us new ways. Everybody thinks shooting sticks, rest the front of the gun on the shooting sticks, and then just shoot
Go
out to
there,
go out to 1,000 yards. Right, no problem. Nope.
Well, you remind me of a story. The first time I ever saw a pair of sticks, I was working up in Eastern Washington, and I had a young sniper guy show up with a pair of shooting sticks, and I was like, "What the heck is that thing?" Well, and he started. I said, "Well, that's kind of cool." Yeah, what? And then we did some stalking, did some live fire stalking. Anyway, I show up on this hilltop, and this kid's got his gun across a tree branch, and he's got the stick in the back. And I saw that, and I went, "Oh my gosh! That's thinking out of the box." And I realized then, I said, "I'm not looking at this right. I need to start open up my thought process on ways to stabilize the gun." And when I saw that, so yeah, I mean, shooting off sticks again. When you throw your gun on a stick, it takes out that vertical wobble. You still got you creating that horizontal.
The rear of the gun going back and forth.
So we do. Years ago, we came up with acronyms, of course, military background. So we had what was STAR. STAR is shooter to target acceptable range. What that basically means is if I'm a prone shooter, and how far can I hit a 9-inch plate in the prone and no wind condition? Everyone's going to have a little different distance, right? Whatever that is for that individual, their equipment, their scope. Well, if I now get off the ground and go to a sitting position, unsupported, how far can I shoot unsupported?
That range changes.
That range changes, right? And let's say perfect conditions. That's not throwing in any kind of environmental issues or slopes and all that different stuff. And then, if I shoot off a tripod, what distance can I hit a 9-inch plate? And you'll see guys and gals that might be 200, might be 250, might be 3. Another person might shoot 500 yards. They can do that. What that does is, from a hunting standpoint, is understanding that okay, I have an animal out there and it's 400 yards. Well, heck, that I can't find a prone, right? I better at least have if I can't shoot past 300 yards in a sitting position, I better find a prone.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why you start looking, and guess what? You're hunting, right?
Yeah.
That's what hunting's about.
That's right.
You're
Yeah.
like, heck, I got to move over there to get a shot on this
Right.
thing. I got to have a prone position that's too far out, or I got to close the distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was something I think people maybe don't think about is, yes, they want to get closer to the animal, they want to get an open shot at them, but you're hunting for a position or a rest, not just.
Yeah, there's way more that goes into it.
Yeah.
Like, there's more. You're hunting for your next position. You're hunting for that like next solid area that you can get into to make that shot.
Yeah.
And that's
Hunters play wind, use wind, use wind to hunt. The animals obviously can smell you, but also as a shooter, also as you're hunting, you use wind, you use light, whatever you
Right.
can to get that advantage, because now you're in that stalking phase basically. And the more you do that, the more creative you get with, I'm going to move from here up to that point. I think I'm going to have a vantage point.
Right.
Many times I've gotten up there and went, oh crap, this sucks.
This isn't what I wanted.
No,
Yeah.
no, this is not good either. But that's the fun of it.
Yeah.
That's the fun stuff.
Well, I think it's that little bit of thinking outside the box and just trying to utilize, your full capacity. And I think a lot of it goes back to practice. How many guys come out here and they've learned something and they go back and they're like, it opens their mind and they can sit there and go, I need to practice this. Well, you can practice this stuff inside your house.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. Is we'll have folks that come out and we're shooting these long distances and stuff, and we do that because it's fun. We'll shoot at plates as far as you can shoot, as far as you can hit stuff, and it's fun to do. But you're looking for that what is my limitation thing. But I think what a lot of people overlook is, look, you can do everything that we do out here long distance with a 22.
Right.
Yeah, you don't need a whole lot of property to actually, and you can set up I'm going to set up your own little shooting courses and stands
That's a great
and practice off your sticks. And like you said, you can dry fire, and many times I used to compete back in high power matches. Couldn't get to a range. I'd dry fire in my house. I had a follower on an M14. I'd take out the follower and I'd click it, and at the time it was my girlfriend, now my wife. She used to run the boat for me. She wouldn't do that any longer.
No more.
But it would simulate the recoil. Like I go click and it would rock me back, and I would dry fire before I go to some form of competition. But a lot of this stuff you can do. There's so many. Some of these 22 pellet guns now are incredibly accurate. And
that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, you could set up a challenging little course of fire even if you only have 100 yards.
That's right,
something.
100%. 22 is a perfect example. We've talked a lot about this Kestrel system, and it's just a neat piece of gear that it's the most advanced system you can have in your hand, and it's got the ballistic profiles in it. But if we talked about supersonic flight and then subsonic flight.
Transonic.
Well, if you get Well, if you get a 22, you're in subsonic at 200 yards. So you're truing in supersonic. You're shooting in subsonic within 200 yards. It's no different than shooting a 6.5 Creedmoor. We're shooting 22s at 300, 500 yards.
Yeah.
Hard to see the impacts. But it's fun. And imagine, and your crosswinds are really, really an issue. But shooting a 22 at 500 yards, like shooting a 6.5 Creedmoor at 1,800 yards. It's the same concept. It's literally just scaled
all the
down.
principles still apply.
Everything applies. So train. Just keep practicing. Dry fire.
All the students you guys have had over the years, I'm sure there are some stories that come to mind that were, surprising, or the transformations that some of these folks, because you get people of different skill levels and people who are really new to it too. That I'm wondering, what's the transformation in 3 or 4 days?
That's amazing. And it's funny. As you were talking, my brain was turning. I've been here like 12 years, so I was like going through the roller deck, and we had a group show up here, and a young lady, never shot a gun, and the folks wanted her to learn how to shoot, and she I think she didn't really want to do it, and she come down here and she fired her first shot and literally started crying, and she went up to the cabin there, and And took her a little while to get her out and settle her down. The recoil, whatever, scared her, the sounds or, the bang or whatever it was. By the end of the 4 days, she was a top shooter.
Wow.
Really?
Quite an incredible transformation.
See, I hear that all the time. I hear that all the time. Like beginning lady shooters are always the best students. I guess. I mean, why would that be?
Yeah, they've got nothing. They're starting from zero.
Yeah.
So everything you're telling them, they're applying because they have nothing to bounce. Yeah. And we'll get shooters over here that guys have shot their whole life. And I guess it's just even a professional golfer has a swing coach, right?
Right.
A guy plays a tournament, and then next he wins a tournament on Sunday, and come Monday morning he's back out there with a swing coach, straighten himself up, get him squared away. So guys have shot well, and the thing is that they don't know their potential, right? They're actually better. They can be better than they actually are. They're good, but they're not at their peak performance. And so it's just little things. It's small things like that trigger control. Maybe they're just popping the trigger and it's just opening up their group a little bit. Maybe they got a little something, eye close or a little push of the gun, and that's what we're looking for.
It's hard to self-diagnose in that type of stuff, especially in really any type of activity, like you mentioned golf, but shooting. And then, of course, you've got recoil happening, and it's kind of like, I don't know, I pulled the trigger, and all we have is, did I hit the target or did I not hit the target? And you can't watch yourself do that stuff. I mean, you guys are seeing things.
We're very fortunate. We're very fortunate to see thousands of rounds go down range every week and get to watch bullets fly and read wind and see the vegetation. But what we do a lot here, is one of us is on the spot. We don't fire a shot without somebody watching it. And not a shot is fired here without somebody behind the scope watching where the bullet went. And a lot of times we'll have another person, especially if someone's struggling. One of the other guys that are with us, F or Fredo, we're like, hey, watch this shooter, because I can't see him because we're spotting.
Right.
And they'll watch him shoot. And these guys, we've been doing it for a long time. And these guys here, we'll go, what'd you see? And they're like, we're pushing it.
Pushing the gun.
And they literally can call they're not looking at the paper. I'm looking through the scope.
They know.
I go, which way you think it went? And they go, I think it went left. You're right. Yeah, it went left.
Yeah.
They're seeing it. And I'm not like, I use golf because I grew up in a family of goofers, and a golf person can watch a golf swing and go, that's a slice, that's a hook.
Yeah. Sure.
Right. So these guys they're seeing the same thing. They're like, no, that one high. They're seeing whatever in the body position that changes, and you can see it. Not all the time.
I mean, this is maybe a hard question, but are there some standard things or common things that people seem to need to work on that they're like, I mean, everybody's different, but are there a couple like, pretty much, if we're going to see it, we're going to see these things?
A lot of times people take shots, especially when you're sighting in, when they're sighting in. And they'll take a shot, and you look down there, and like I said, how'd that feel? I say that a lot. How did that feel? And they're going, well, I didn't like that. Well, why didn't you tell me that?
Right.
Because I can see the result. The result wasn't good. You knew it wasn't good. You were hoping it was.
Yeah.
And we're talking about zeroing a gun. I can't tell you the number of people walk down here, fire one shot through the center, first shot, and they go, "Oh, I'm good." And you're like, "Well, hang on a second. Let's just shoot now. Shoot a group." And now they got a 4-round shot an inch right of center. Yeah. And I can't tell you the number of times it happens all the time. I've never zeroed one shot. But that's what we'll see that they don't. You don't know what you don't know. Yeah. You don't know what you don't know. Doing ball and dummy training is really good. We have a drill here. It's called an asshole drill. Did they go through? Y'all go through that?
I haven't. No. Tell us.
I know about it. Yeah. But you got to explain it.
Yeah. Well, sometimes we'll get folks behind their gun. We got to eliminate the shooter, right? So the shot group isn't that good, and we got to eliminate the shooter. So we'll get them paying attention to something else while they're not looking. We'll slip the round out of the chamber, right? And I use an app. I have an app that on my phone that I can slow motion watch the shooter frame at a frame, and it's on my phone. So I'll sit there and I'll film them. And we know there's not a round in the chamber, and I'm filming them. And when they fire the gun, we'll see it first. Oh, their eye closed, and then confirm it on this slow motion footage where we can watch every bit of the gun movement. So literally when a hammer fires, there can't be any disturbance to the gun at all, right? If there's any, like you'll see in slow motion, you'll see like the name, like our printed name like move, or the scope move, or the hand move, or tendons move. When you think about trigger control, there can't be a tendon in this forearm move or twitch, because that's the only thing it's supposed to move.
Right.
Right. So sometimes you can't see that with a live fire shot.
Right.
Sometimes you can if it's real grossly done, but sometimes it's so small you can't pick up on it in a live fire shot. So we'll do one of those drills. Yeah. And sometimes people do it to themselves, like they're running their gun and they forget they don't recognize they're out of ammo. Yeah. We're all like, look.
Yeah. Here it comes.
Get ready. I'm going for the phone trying to get it. They're about to do it.
It's probably, you get some people go, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
Oh, all the time.
Well, I don't know what to tell you.
I'll self-diagnose me on the range. Like if I'm only by myself and I'm like, that's not a good group, I'll start thinking, you're probably doing something wrong. So you go back to
what am I
dry
doing?
fire.
Yeah, that's right. Go back to the beginning. Dry fire.
Like,
yeah.
But self-diagnosing is pretty tough because you don't want to believe you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
That's right.
We want to blame it on the gear.
You need friends to do asshole drills on you.
Yes.
Right. Or yourself.
Please find. I have friends who are assholes.
Yeah, I've got plenty of those. Bring them down.
And I've done it many times. I've shot a gun and I said, all right, that's not a good group. And I'll turn to someone I know that shoots good, and I'll say, do me a favor, shoot 3 rounds out of this. Is it me? Is it today just a bad day? Am I now too old?
I just hit. It was finally
today.
Found the day. Today was the day.
Is it over with today? Let someone else shoot it, and then and at least prove that I got to eliminate myself.
Right.
I blame myself first. Yeah. Literally do. Yeah. And it's so small. The thickness of the crosshair. It's like a 16th of an inch at 100 yards. Yeah. And so when you're when I'm telling folks to like I'm talking about that small circle as opposed to big circle. Yeah. Well, that small circle's small, but guess what? The target's not that little tiny circle. The target is the center of that circle. If your crosshair touches the right edge of that circle, that's a 1/4 inch wide. If your crosshair actually breaks there, that bullet's right. Or 1 o'clock, that bullet's 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
And so every shot is not perfect.
Right.
And you'll say, they call the shot, right? Call the shot, center. Okay, was it center, or is it close to center?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe because your bullet, and when people get to that point where they can call that impact, that's just that they're on. I mean, they're focused. They're so they're in tune.
Dialed in.
They're dialed in, and they're calling those shots. I went to a competition, years back, a high power match, and this Navy guy was on a Navy team, and he was orange sighting, M14 orange sight. He was calling 200-yard freehand standing like within inches, and I was like,
really?
Oh my gosh.
He could tell when he breaks the shot, that's going to be an inch
so
left.
as soon as he fires, he can't see his bullet holes, and he drops down, relaxed, the target drops, and they mark it, and he's like, yeah, that's 1 o'clock, 2 inches out.
That's amazing.
Center.
Yeah.
And I
center,
realized then I'm not watching this guy when I'm not paying attention like I'm supposed to be. Yeah, this guy's got it down. So.
Wow. Yeah, well, I guess that's a matter of staying in the gun and knowing your body movement and just everything.
Like you said, being in tune. We talk about the golf analogies all the time. I mean, you see a golfer who's just in the zone.
Right.
He can't miss. He's striking the ball good, and I think he knows everything that's going on. From his breathing to his swing.
It's funny because this always circles back, back to trigger control.
Yes, it does.
As we're talking, I'm like, it goes back to trigger control. Yeah. Because what happens, we'll see here a lot, is that you'll say it and say it and say it, and we'll say it over and over and over and over again. Yeah. And a guy who's been here, how many times you met him? Ronnie?
Oh yeah, Ronnie.
And he's like, you got to keep saying that. And I said, yeah, I've said that at least 1,000 times. You've been here many times.
You should start telling people that trigger control is important. No kidding.
Well, the concept, the thought process is we wish it was automatic. We wish it was, there's going to be those anomaly people, that's like, how does that guy do that? Yeah. But you can't, it's not teachable. You know, whatever that guy's doing is not teachable. He's the one guy out of a million, and most of us aren't that person.
Well, like you said, the squeezing the trigger so smoothly and slowly without disturbing the gun is not real natural.
It's not natural at all. You're right. It's not natural at all. Well, when we use that term, booger flicking is one of our terms because it's real apparent. It looks like this. You know, it's a popping of the trigger. And you think about it, how can you bring a trigger back slow and then when the gun goes off, release it quick? Well, in reality, this rate in which the finger's coming off is probably the same rate it was going that way.
Yeah.
So it's more of a popping action than it's like slow, oh, the gun went off.
All right.
Yeah, your mind doesn't wrap around that. It doesn't.
No.
You're not in control. That's finger control, not trigger control. So, yeah.
There's a lot that goes in it.
Yeah, it's all good stuff, man. It's a lot of fun. You know.
It is a lot of fun, and
Fun.
something about hitting that steel target and hearing the ding.
Yeah.
It's so satisfying, especially after you miss, like almost all the time.
That's right. Yeah.
And you know, reaching out to further distances where you shoot and there's a pause and then there's a ding.
Yeah.
You're like, wow.
Yeah.
Put it all together on that one.
Yeah.
Sometimes a blind squirrel finds an acorn.
They did. They did.
Every once in a while.
Yeah.
Doug, thanks for being with us, man.
Man, it's
This is
awesome.
cool.
I'm glad y'all made it out. This has been a lot of fun, and
And we're going to be coming back for some
yeah.
a full class.
Yeah.
Like, that's the
You guys
beautiful
got
thing
in
about it.
KJ's head about
Yeah.
all the ranges here are so cool, so
Yeah.
versatile. Not only just longer distance, but all the terrain you have here.
well, the safari hunting.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
this is
safari
big,
hunting
big,
type
big bore
training.
shooting, moving targets.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's super cool.
We're trying to. We're always me and Dave or Tim. We go on a hunt and we'll come back and there's a trail over here we're setting up. I hunted in Cameroon, and that's going to be a jungle trail.
Oh, wow.
Really?
You know, Bongo and Sitatunga, and then also, you know, our Dave went on. He goes on an ibex hunt, and he comes back. He goes, "We need more uphill shots. We need more of
Yeah.
that." So we're constantly improving.
Well, 12,000 acres and a lot of up and down. You can do it.
You can.
So if you're thinking that maybe I need to get a little better, maybe I could improve as a hunter, as a shooter, precision rifle, whatever it is, check out FTW Ranch. You guys do some cool stuff here.
Thank you, sir.
That's it for us on Gun Talk Nation.